Hi folks, Des Phoebe from the Franchise Entrepreneur, and welcome to another episode. By the way, I'm kind of walking the dog at the moment, so you might get some background noises, so apologies for that. And today we are going to have a discussion, or I'm going to put some of my thoughts out there on what the BFA are currently doing, so the British Franchise Association, and the latest project of the super brand seminar that they've got advertised at the moment, and not just at the moment, what they do in general. You know, I'm not a great advocate of the BFA, never really have been. I think although they're doing a lot to try and modernise and become more relevant, they've kind of been irrelevant for probably the last 10 years in many respects. You know, they do hold themselves up as being the guardians of British franchising and standards, etc. And you can argue that that's certainly a good thing. But unfortunately, a lot of what they do is not great, or hasn't been in the past. I certainly found when I first started franchising, I thought they would be the experts to go to, that they would be relevant, and all I really got from them was really being passed around between consultant to solicitors to another consultant. It always seemed a bit of an old boys network whereby you just got passed around. You ended up spending an awful lot of money if you were a business trying to franchise. I think if you're a franchisee, you can learn a fair bit from them, and they are a bit more relevant in that respect. But if you're a business that's looking to franchise, you know, they just cost you a lot of money. All they did is just pass you around. Old boys network. Like I said, they do appear to be trying to modernise now, but you know what caught my eye literally just the other day on LinkedIn, there was popped up on my feed that they're doing this super brand seminar. I mean, and then you look at the brands. This is the British Franchise Association, and who do they have on there? They wheel out the big guns again. McDonald's, shock, horror, surprise. McDonald's, all the time McDonald's. God knows how much they pay the BFA to be on all of their seminars. Taco Bell. You know, what is the fascination with American brands? Yeah, I know franchising started there. We all know that. But that was a long time ago. And how relevant is it to keep on wheeling out these massive franchises who are from America? I mean, seriously, there are so many great young brands in the UK that they should be supporting, pushing, and doing these kind of seminars about them becoming the next super brand. Now, you might say, well, you can learn a lot from McDonald's and Taco Bell and the likes. Well, I'm sorry, not if you've only got 5 or 6 stores, but you have aspirations to becoming a lot bigger. These guys have been doing it for far too long and are not in the same space as those UK stores who are looking to get on to that kind of first steps on the ladder to becoming bigger and better operators. They just aren't relevant. They're not in the same space. It's completely pointless in wheeling them out. The only people that benefit are McDonald's and Taco Bell because they're looking for franchisees. Now, if you're a franchisee and you go to these seminars and you've got £1 million in your pocket or plus, and you're looking for one of those brands, then yeah, great, it's relevant to you. But if it's for franchisors in the UK who are looking to expand, these seminars are complete and utter bollocks. Excuse the language, but I really thought I had to put something out relating to this because it just annoys me. You know, this is the British Franchise Association. You're going to hold yourselves up to supporting British franchising, and yet all you keep on doing is bringing in American franchises and encouraging people to buy those. What about all of these young British brands that have, I would say, taken the market by storm? And, you know, Americans are buying British brands all over the place. and taking them over there stateside. There are some fantastic European brands as well. 10 years ago, the European brands were pretty crap, to be honest with you. But they're all catching up, all becoming very relevant, and all becoming very, very good. And actually, I would say setting the pace. There's some great vegan brands out there, some really great concepts going on that are UK or European and are much more relevant to the demographic in Europe and the UK. If you're looking for a burger concept, a pizza concept, or a burrito concept, then yes, of course you're going to be looking at the American concept still. But you need to, the BFA, come on, you can do better than this. Stop pushing American brands, start supporting UK brands more, make yourselves more relevant. I know you're trying, but you're not doing a good enough job of it and you're not moving quick enough on it. What's more relevant? Here, you take me, for example. Okay, I've got 18 noodle bars and I've got a couple of other brands that we're expanding on as well. So I would say we're on the first run of the ladder to becoming a bigger brand. Now, what's relevant to me? There's a whole bunch of other brands in the UK out there that are at the similar stages to me. What do we want to see? Well, what we would like to see is a platform that we can be supported by the BFA, that would put as much effort into pushing our brands as they do American brands and promoting them and giving them a platform. Secondly, bring other successful UK or EU brands into these forums and into these seminars that you're conducting. Ones that have been successful maybe are now at a stage of 40 or 50 stores, so they're another run above where I am. I'm interested to know how they've got there, how they are, what difficulties they're having, at that next stage of their development. I'd like to know how ones that are completely independent and have not attracted outside money, how they are doing it, how they keep on expanding without having to attract outside investment. Because look, this is really relevant as well, really important. Most of the brands that are of a similar size to me or less have been bought by VCs or have found that they've had to bring in outside money to keep on developing. Now, if there are brands out there that haven't had to do that, I'd like to know about them. I'd like to know what it is that they're doing that's different from what I'm doing, that enables them to stay and keep their independence. Because look, this is what we want. We want UK independent, strong brands. We don't want VCs buying up everything. You've seen what happens when VCs buy up, private equity buys up, overexpands, fast casual dining, and it all goes tits up after a while. Because they're not in it for the long game, they're in it to get a return on their investment. Let's keep these businesses independent. So also really relevant is we want to listen to entrepreneurs that are relevant to today's business and today's demographic, that makes a good use of social media portals and things like that. This is really, really important, really relevant, and we should be hearing a lot more from people like this. You've got to remember, franchisees and franchisors, especially franchisors, are entrepreneurs. They're entrepreneur in spirit and they're actually entrepreneur in action. And they want to hear from other entrepreneurs. They don't just want to hear from other franchisers who have taken their business out. Entrepreneurs, by their very nature, have got their fingers in a number of pies. Another thing that kind of bugs me again a little bit, to make these kind of seminars again more relevant, you don't need to have everything related to franchising. But a lot of businesses like mine, we do some franchising and we do some corporately owned stores. What we want to know and learn from are people who can mentor us. So people who have been successful, who are not necessarily in the franchise model. I know this is the BFA, I know it's British Franchise Association, but not everything that comes out of the BFA or out of franchising, shines. Bring in independent businesses who are not in the franchise model, but are successful, are at a certain stage in their development that most of us are trying to get to. I'm not talking about ones that have got 500 plus stores. I'm talking about that level where they are maybe at 50 stores to 100, and therefore are much more relevant because their development has been much more recent. I'm not interested in a brand that's been developed over 30 years. I'm more interested in a brand that has been doing it in the last 5 years. So, you know, have a bit of imagination. You know, stop wheeling out the same old crap in every one of your seminars and then trying to repackage it as if it's something new. It's not something new. I'm not interested in how McDonald's are getting on, or even Subway or some of these other ones. I want to know from some British brands that have developed over the last 5 years and are still developing and are more relevant to my circumstances, and the majority of young franchisors, I'm not young by the way, I mean young franchise brands who are trying to develop. I know the BFA might be looking at this and saying, well, hold on, this is all about franchising. Well, you need to look at the people who make up your sector, and most of those people who are franchise on, where did that come from? Franchising, are entrepreneurial, as I said, in spirit, and therefore they've got a number of opportunities, number of things that they're involved in, and franchising is probably part of that portfolio. So it is relevant, and it's very relevant because franchisors are entrepreneurs and franchisees are also entrepreneurs. They're starting on the road of being an entrepreneur and potentially multiple sites of brands and multiple locations. You know, when you're talking about super brands, this is far more relevant. How do you create a super brand? Right? Don't tell me and don't put McDonald's in front of me or Taco Bell, who've been around for years. I want to see someone that's been doing it more recently, is a UK brand, and is using all of the social media platforms and how they were doing it and how relevant it is to their expansion. So the BFA needs to move away from thinking that franchising is its standalone kind of business sector. It's not. It's about being an entrepreneur. So you need to align yourself slightly differently. You might be thinking, who the hell are you to be telling us what to be doing? Well, I'm someone that owns a franchise business and have been doing it a number of years, and I'm asking you and telling you what I think is more relevant to me and to a lot of hundreds of companies out there who are in a similar position. Now you can listen to that, it's free advice, or you can say no, you know better, and you'll carry on doing what you're doing and you'll play around with the edges and you'll make yourselves maybe a little bit more relevant, or at least you'll think you'll be relevant, but the reality is you're not. You can give yourselves and your consultants all the qualifications that you want. You put some nice little letters behind their name. What's the latest one? QF something or another? I don't know. What does that tell you? They've been through a BFA course and are now qualified to franchise. Really? Really? Qualified to be given franchise advice out? Okay. These are just the same consultants dressed up in a different outfit. And basically all that happens is that they would just keep on charging you for stuff that they shouldn't be charging you for, because you can bloody well get free information downloaded off the internet that is just as relevant as the crap that they try and dish you out with. So you need to change, guys, because the world is changing around you and it's changing quickly. And doing a few online courses and trying to repackaging yourselves a little bit is just not good enough. So you can listen to people like myself who are at the coalface, or you can just keep on pissing around in the wind. So I appreciate the fact that BFA are changing or trying to change, but you've been so irrelevant for the last 10 years that you need to step it up a bit. You've got to do more than just to appoint a few younger people to to your directorships or your executive board and, you know, piss around with the flowery stuff around the edges of franchising. Support British franchising. And this is how you do it. Or this is one of the things that you do to do it. So come on, you can do a lot better on this. There you go, that's another episode of The Franchise Entrepreneur. A little bit off piste on this one, but I felt the necessity to comment on the feed that I'd seen in LinkedIn, which I found disappointing to say the least.